defeated the defending Stanley Cup champions Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 2-1. They were actually shutting out the Lightning until about 90 seconds left. The Lightning mounted a comeback, only scored one goal. So game one of the Eastern Conference semifinals goes to New York. We're now going to go back to local news with Chris and Sabrina, who are standing by with our dear friend Therese Arriola from the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. Hafa Therese.
Morning, Therese.
Hafa Guam. Good morning. Buenas. It's a Monday, and it's going to be a very interesting week, at least for Guam Behavioral Health.
Why is that, Therese?
Oh, because tomorrow I have my budget hearing. Budget time.
Oh man.
Happy hunting.
It's always fun.
So what would you say are the Ojibwe guys? That's
He said happy hunting.
that's what we call Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. They call it Jibwick. But what are the most pressing needs, Therese, that you're going to really try and champion going into your budget hearing tomorrow?
Oh, are we on the air?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Hi.
We are.
Morning.
Well, there's a lot of things happening. We just finished CARF accreditation review last week. Next week, we're finally ribbon cutting the 3.7 detox unit. Finally, we have lots to talk about. We have a lot of big projects in the air. We're finalizing our psychology internship program, graduate program that is going to help build up our own core of psychologists on Guam. And we have partnered with the Wichita schools, the Wichita program, psychology program, behavioral health program. We've been working on that since January. We just opened and we started operating mid-May, the Department of Correction, Mental Health and Substance Use Program. There's a lot of big lifts happening in the last couple of weeks. What else do we have? The crisis hotline is still hot and heavy, literally hot and heavy.
Wow.
Averaging about 600 calls a month. At the high, it was 800, so it has not dipped down at all. That's always a good thing, because that means, number one, people are getting over whatever stigma they might have had to reach out and get the help they need. But it's also a major indicator that our community is ill, very ill. We have a lot of the top stressors in the calls of the hotline are suicide ideation and depression, really, and anxiety and depression. And so it's still relatively high, and again, a big indicator that our island community is ill. We're very blessed because Guam Behavioral Health has been the mental health and substance abuse budget in the Biden administration has gotten a lot of attention. So we're still getting notices from our major funder, SAMHSA, about a lot of the monies that are coming down our way. So a lot of things happening. Lots of things happening. Like I said, we just finished CARF reaccreditation survey. That was a very heavy lift, and I just want to thank my entire staff for helping, doing all they can to welcome the surveyors that this year had to be done virtually. So there was a lot of challenges, and actually a little bit more difficult, because I've been through CARF accreditation before when I was with Sanctuary, and it's so much easier when they're on the ground. But because you're trying to express your people, your consumers' needs, your people's hospitality, you're trying to stress your staff's professionalism all through virtual, and having to make sure that number one, the IT is working, the internet is working properly, and there's no lag, and setting up all these interviews through we use Microsoft Teams with them, but for lack of a better word, zooming in, right? Everything was in virtual.
Wow.
So that was a very, very big lift that we've been waiting for the last, for me, for the last 2.5 years, because they were first accredited. Guam Behavioral Health is the first government agency to be accredited by CARF. And so this is a re-accreditation every 3 years. And I have to say, I'm very pleased with the outcome. Of course, we're not perfect, and we have, through our exit survey, we were given a list of few recommendations that we need to deal with, but we were measured by over 1,600 national standards for behavioral health, mental health departments and agencies across the nation. And I would say we had about 20, no more than 30 recommendations. So we're feeling very, very optimistic about our reaccreditation. The good part, the most wonderful part of that is that all our clinical programs had 0 recommendations, and that's key. Our clinical programs are our service programs, right? DNA, Healing Hearts, Children's and IFA Magonta, what you know as IFA Magonta, adult counseling, so inpatient stabilization unit. So all those service areas, clinical areas, pharmacy, we had 0 recommendations. So those are all, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But again, it's not official until you get the official congratulations, but I'm feeling good about it.
What were some of the recommendations that were made for Jibwick?
A lot of it is just little things like documentation, things that we've already taken care of, to be honest with you, things that we had before that for whatever reason, for example, making sure that our satellite offices signage properly shows our work hours, where to go after hours, where to proceed, since they are a satellite office. Things such as just recommendations of making sure that we update certain plans, like accessibility plan, technology plans, and things of that. So not that we didn't have them, but we just needed to be ensured that we had documented. It's all about documentation, having proof that you're doing things, making sure that all minutes are taken, and things of those nature. Just like I said, I wouldn't say they're insignificant, because a recommendation is a recommendation, but definitely nothing. There wasn't a recommendation that we were given because we didn't do something, only that there was areas of improvement that could be done. So I'm very pleased, and I'm very grateful. Right. It was a grueling 3 days. I felt it. I saw my staff come together, and during the exit survey, it was quite a relief as we were cheering, listening to the surveyors. And we had 3 surveyors. So imagine 3 surveyors, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 8 to 5, surveying different areas of your department, questioning different consumers, questioning our stakeholders about our services, and having all that going, and making sure that they got all the documentations that they needed to review. It's a lot is policy driven. So, do we have the policy for this or that? Seclusion or restraint, things of that nature. So it was pretty nerve-wracking. All 3 surveyors knowing that they're surveying different areas of your department simultaneously, and having them call on you and jump in when needed to answer about certain things. So
sign of the times, accreditation.
We're glad it's over.
Right.
We're glad it's over. And literally I said to my staff after I said thank you after the exit survey Wednesday afternoon, thank you very much. You did well. Let's now close the loops on those recommendations that they mentioned. And now I have to pivot to the budget, which is tomorrow in the afternoon. So if it's not one thing, it's another.
Right.
But we're really, really busy. And when I say we're busy, not just administratively, but we're very busy at the clinics in the service area. It's been we've had high census in the units lately. So again, that really correlates to the number of folks in the hotline who are seeking help, and also correlates with my comment that we have a very sick community.
Therese, are we still dealing with, and if we are, how do we plan to address the shortage of counselors and social workers?
Oh, well, I am constantly hiring. So they're hiring in the pot. We're constantly interviewing. We are working with the Lieutenant Governor's office. We have pulled in I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you folks before, the School of Counseling and the School of Social Work at the University of Guam, trying to make sure that these folks, especially, for example, right now, we have a new core of social workers and counselors that have graduated at the university this year, making sure that they immediately get into applying for positions throughout the government, if you think about it, because I'm not the only one that needs social workers. Everybody needs social workers. Public health, the hospital, DYA, social work, the hospital, social work positions are there. There's quite a bit of need throughout the government, especially now with CPS and the emergency declaration of CPS. So we've just been working with the front office and the administration and the powers that be at the University of Guam to make sure that these folks go right into getting a government job if that's their desire. That's the key. Recognizing the shortage of certain service positions or professional positions is something, that I worry about, that people, senior management worry about all the time. What do we do? Because there's no one, either there's no one to hire or there's not enough to hire, right? And we are pulling the same people from different departments. So it's not uncommon for somebody to leave one department and be recruited by another department, because it's open and blind recruitment, right? So, and individuals, employees have their choice where to work. But, we hope that one day that it will stabilize so that people are not pulling, like I don't like pulling from my sister agencies. They need them just as much, So anyway, that's my life, and it's been a very, very busy
Anyway.
June. Right. Busy June.
Well, I had a couple of questions. I wanted to follow up on what you were mentioning regarding the crisis intervention hotline and how, it hasn't really slowed down a whole lot, and you're taking about 600 calls a month, and how you said there was a high census rate in clients over at JIPWIC, right? So
Yes.
Out of your average 600 calls, how many are actually in need of, coming in and receiving services from JIPWIC?
I would say about a third. The wonderful thing about the crisis hotline is that a lot of people just need to talk to somebody, and the crisis hotline professional staff handle it at that level. But about a third of the calls require more intensive services and go right into appointments for telecounseling and telecounseling. Some of those suicide ideations go right into asking them to please stop by and getting the help they need. because it really is only a psychiatrist that could determine whether they are truly in crisis and whether they can they fit the criteria of being admitted into our crisis stabilization unit that we operate at the department. And so um, there's a big correlation when you've been running um, 90 to 100% beds in the stabilization unit, and the number of calls in the hotline is as high as it is. You can see that the community is in crisis. The community is in need, and we can think of that and be overwhelmed by the idea, but we can also think of it as, thank goodness they number one know of our services, and number two are coming and getting the services they need, whether it's through a call or actually visiting us and getting assessed and being admitted.
And Therese, if I may, I'd like to follow up on Sabrina's question, because the last time we had a member of your staff here, we were talking about, kind of like the breakdown demographically of who the people calling Jibwick are, like young people versus middle-aged versus, our island's Manumco, and even like an ethnic breakdown. Would you know off the top of your head, like, has there been a change in the people that are calling, and has it shifted in any way?
Have they? I mean, I don't recall the time frame in which they shared that with you. If you can give me what did they say?
Yeah, it was during May, and I believe they said that and it wasn't unexpected, because the school year was winding down. Kids had final exams, and they had like a lot of peer pressure and going back to school, and after a year of being in and everything. So they said there was a little bit of a skew, like a little bit of a bump towards younger people. I'm just wondering now that we're in the summer months and everything like that, has that trend continued?
I don't think you're talking May of just last month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you very much, Link, for being a major help in Mental Health Month, May. I know you had us every week talk about one service or another, so I really appreciate your assistance in getting the word out of our services. But I don't believe it was just me. I don't have the latest breakdown, but I don't think there has been much of a change. When school year ends, that brings just a different kind of anxiety. You got seniors who are trying to figure out what are they going to do in their life. They're like, oh, congratulations. Now you're an adult. Good luck. That stress of, what do I do? Am I going to go to college, or the anxiety of and the anticipation of going to college, getting a job, So, graduation has its own set of stresses that, and it's mixed, right? It's excitement because they're graduating, but it's like anxiety because they are excited that they graduated, but they imagine. I mean, we all know how it's been. That's all you know. You only know how to be a student, and then all of a sudden you're like, one day you're like not a student, and you're either going to go to further schooling, which brings on that anxiety in itself, and parents are have anxiety about wanting their kids probably to go off island if that's their choice. But the anxiety that, the United States is not doing so well when it comes to COVID. Just yesterday, I was listening to the news after Mass, and, the United States death toll has hit the mark in June more than the entire 2020. So what does that tell you? That the United States is still struggling to contain the virus and the acuity of the virus and the effects in our healthcare system. So, parents are worried, they want their kids to go off island, but they're not, I know I've been to several graduations, and all anybody's telling everybody who were sending off and congratulating is congratulations, girl, but please wear your mask no matter what. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, um, so, there's a lot of anxiety out there. And then, you have an island. Let's say you're not in the college track. Let's say you are in the career path, right? You're going to get a job and start working and helping your family. 1/3 of our economy hasn't really opened. I mean, the nice thing about it, our restaurants are busting. I mean, everyone has some money, whatever, whether it's stimulus or whatever. Everybody has money, some kind of money, whether it's earned or through a program, and they are enjoying the restaurants. So restaurants are open, but for the most part, the the industry in which um, used to take care of 1/3 of our economy is not active yet, and so you're fighting against. Do you bring on people when the economy tourism finally comes back? Are you bringing in kids who are not experienced versus those who have been waiting to get back to work? So, there's a lot of stresses out there. So I tell a lot of people, you and I, Sabrina, everybody, KOM, those of us who are fortunate to have never lost their jobs, we need to wake up and thank God every day.
Amen.
And grateful, and that we're able to still earn that income when other people are worried about, the program help is ending soon.
Therese,
What are we going to do?
Would you say, I'm not going to ask you for any,
So all that has caused a great number of calls to the hotline. So to tie it back, it's caused a great number of calls to the hotline, and a lot of people are worried, and so anxiety and depression is high. It's very high. So
when you go into your budget oversight hearing, are you going to kind of do an autopsy of JIPWIC's response to COVID? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll tell them how we, the last time we were in front of the legislature was June of last year, early June of last year. And so we are already part of the COVID, but a lot of things have happened since June of last year to June this year. Like just how we responded and how many people we brought on board, how many new grants we've received. We're so blessed. We are a department that is very aggressive in the grant writing. We look at our need and we write to that need versus I know, I've been in the grant world for over 15 years.
Right,
and so
yeah.
I know people who write grants just to find the money and then have their services follow the money versus looking at what services we need and writing to that. And we have been able to offset a lot of our local expenses into the federal side. So we're doing very well. And again, like I mentioned, there's so many things happening. I mean, we have a conceptual letter concept. We're opening the building of a new detox building, is expected next year. We are renovating the DYA cottage homes.
Right.
The lieutenant governor has looked at repurposing certain government property that is underutilized or not utilized at all, unfortunately, which is terrible because it's a resource that's not used, and recognizing that there's a need to be repurposed. And so, renovating the cottage homes in the DYA cottage homes in Talafofo and transferring that over to Guam Behavioral Health so we can expand the number of recovery beds. Because the realities are, we have a lot, there, as I mentioned before, the COVID pandemic is not the pandemic. It's a pandemic that we were faced with and probably hit the hardest in front of our face that we had to deal with. But we have been dealing with a decades-long pandemic of drugs on the island.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and Teresa,
And
on that note, we did want to ask about this MOU with Jibwick and the Department of Corrections.
corrections, yes, very exciting. Very, very exciting. So on May, at the end of May, after months, so the governor, the administration declared or put out an executive order of June of last year, recognizing after major meetings and consultation with the Department of Corrections and myself, recognizing the need to stand up mental health and substance use programming in the prison system for clients in the criminal system. Because I have to say, before, the Department of Correction had a small mental health unit. When I say small, I mean really small, like 4 or 5 people when they were all warm bodies. 1 or 2 might be vacant at any given time. And they only had the RSET program that was funded by the Bureau of Plans and Stats for the substance abuse side. We needed, or the Department of Corrections spoke to me, Joe Carbolito, and said, you know, I need to get out of this business. This is not my business. This is your business, which makes sense. Why would Department of Corrections be in the mental health business and try to stand up their own mini Jibwick, if you will, when you already have Guam Behavioral Health and all the resources that comes with it? So very simply, the governor put out an executive order. We brought in a major consultant we've been working with since, if the executive order came out in June, probably in August, we started talking to Dr. Deborah Pinals. Dr. Deborah Pinals is a psychiatrist who is really recognized in the SAMHSA world for her, for all that she has done. If you Google her, she's very impressive, and we were very lucky to be able to have her be a consultant of us while we're trying to stand this up after the executive order was put out. We've been working on this MOU, working with the Department of Correction, their small team, their leadership, and we finally put an MOU together that was signed off, was sanctioned by our governor and lieutenant governor, and signed off by Joe Carbolito and myself. And so here we are today. And it is our guiding authority right now. So the bottom line is Guam Department of Correction is no longer in the mental health business. They have brought in Guam Behavioral Health to stand up mental health and substance abuse programs in the Department of Correction, not just for the inmates in the population, but also for pretrial folks. So we're hitting everyone. We're trying to, when I say hitting, we're trying to hit them with services, everyone who comes through the criminal system and touches, whether it's a Gatña Detention Center or they have an address for years or months at the Minilao Department of Correction facility. Mm-hmm. So,
hey, Theresa, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. No.
Okay. You mentioned Gatña Detention Facility. As we know, John Richard Bass, he's actually in the Gatña Detention Facility, accused in the murder of Virginia LaGuatnia. But I know leading up to his capture, I was reading in one of our chats regarding the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center on, I believe, high alert. And I'm just wondering, what was the connection?
Oh, what was that high alert? Yes, I think it was Chris that reached out to me over the weekend. Right. Well, that high alert, there was rumors that we went into a lockdown, and it wasn't a lockdown. It was just my safety officer being very proactive and putting, we're open 24/7. So anybody can walk in and out of, walk up to the department. And when the news hit about Bass and some out on, I guess, he was out being looked for. And one of somebody, a victim went to GMH, and another victim went to Guam Regional Medical Center. Because we were in Tamuning, we just did a high alert and alerted everybody that, this is what's happening in the island. And I'm telling you, it's not unusual for people running around, the hospital parking lot, Jibwick parking lot, that kind of thing. Especially if they're trying to run away from, let's say, the cops, if they were brought into the hospital, or maybe seeking help, or they're known to be in the Tamuning area. So we just went into high alert. That's all. It's just a safety precaution.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Because there was a manhunt happening.
I see.
Right.
And that's the
Yeah.
bottom line. There was a manhunt happening. And because we're 24 hours and people can walk up to the door anytime, it wouldn't be unusual for somebody to be running up. And so we needed to have our guards set.
So it wasn't
to be ready for
necessarily
anything.
that there was a connection with Mr. Bass and Jibwick. It was just more.
Well, the connection is that there was a manhunt.
Right. I got you. Okay.
That's the connection.
Therese,
And that we, just to be prepared.
right on. Thank you so much for your
If we did
time.
run in or run up,
Right.
seeking shelter, seeking a
Correct.
hiding place, because we're open.
Right.
Right.
Well, thank you for your time. We got about 95 different stories out of this interview. Good stuff.
Anytime, I appreciate it.
luck
Anytime.
tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Break a leg,
Thank you.
but not literally. You know what I mean.
Yes. Thank you very
Therese.
much.
Okay.
Take care.
That's
Bye.
right on.
Bye.
Okay, 8:17. We got to take a quick break, guys, and then we're coming back with our KUAM 8 o'clock newscast next, right here on The Link. Good morning.
Join us each week.